My name is Christina, and you can send your picture to my email.
I've attached a few photos. The first picture, I'm with one of my best friends and his wife, Luana. I'm the one on the left in the dark green shirt.
You sound like a cool dude. I'm from Tallahassee, otherwise known as Tallahassee, and did get my bachelor's in vocal performance at Mercer University.
Okay, now it's your turn to send me a picture and tell me your name. I only have your handle. It's a blast sending these emails back and forth, and tell me if my picture passes or fails. So when did we meet? We met in June of 1999 on Match.com.
I decided to go on Match because I had been working as an actress, and specifically, I was working on a cruise ship. So I was on furlough, had a few months off before I was going to return back onto the cruise ship, and I wanted a proper date. You don't really date on a cruise ship, and I was like, I want a date. I want like some normalcy. I'd like to go out with a boy. I decided that Match might be kind of interesting.
So when we met on Match.com, neither of us had a photo because in those days it was harder to kind of get your photos online. You had to take paper photos and scan them and then upload them, and not all of us were like really great at doing that.
I didn't take a cell phone picture until long since after we got married. So instead, I took some hard copy pictures of myself and sent them to Match.com's headquarters, which I believe was in California. I had to actually mail a hard copy photo to Match.com's headquarters, and they uploaded it for me.
So actually our first date happened on the same day that we actually spoke with each other for the first time. I was on a business trip, and we connected about 2 in the afternoon as I was getting ready to leave and go to the airport to come back to New York. It was an interesting conversation because the conversation didn't start out so well. She was talking about how Match was getting really difficult. She wasn't meeting anyone good that she wanted to date, and she was about to kind of give up on dating through Match. And then she also asked me who I was, because she was obviously juggling 4 or 5 different guys that she had been chatting with or talking with through email on Match, because you didn't chat back then. You actually had to send an email each time. And so I was thinking, okay, this is going absolutely nowhere. And then she turned the whole conversation around. I ended up actually missing my flight back to New York and having to get on a later flight. And we ended the conversation by saying, let's meet up in Times Square at 10:30 when I got back from the airport and could get into the city. And that ended up being our first date.
So we arranged to meet on a corner. So it was 43rd and 8th. And I saw him walking south on 8th Avenue, and I saw him before he saw me. And he had a big smile on his face. He looked like he was nervous, or like, oh my goodness, what am I getting myself into? He looked how I was feeling. But I was immediately struck by what a wonderful person he seemed to be. Even from like a block away, and just looking at him, there was just something about him that really struck me. And right off the bat, I thought, look at this man, there's something about him.
Yeah, what I remember is just seeing her from across the street, and then also seeing that she was with someone. She had a friend with her at the time. The friend was a good friend of ours named Tony. And the friend is Tony Hale.
Hey, Busty. Oh, hey, brother.
And the friend who was with her, I could tell she had brought along this friend so that if maybe I was not who I was like meant to be or set out to be, if I was some axe murderer or somebody she didn't feel comfortable with, that her friend was there to kind of protect her from the situation. But I remember her actually going to her friend Tony and sort of talking to him and almost literally pushing him away, like saying, it's okay, I see this guy, he looks like a great guy. And that gave me also a comfort level, thinking, okay, hey, there's at least an attraction that we have with one another. Ended up going on the date. We grabbed some dinner at Galaxy Diner, and then we went for a drink at a place called Zanzibar afterwards in the Hell's Kitchen area of New York. And we had a really good first date.
we were serious right off the bat. By the time I met Brian, I was like, you know what, I really do know what I want. I know what kind of man I need to be with. Let's just cut to the chase. How do you feel about these subjects? And I started just kind of like rapid fire asking him, how do you feel about marriage? How do you feel about kids? How do you feel about religion? And I remember him answering every single one exactly how I would want him to answer. He wasn't trying to impress me. He wasn't trying to read social cues to see if I was happy, if I was agreeing with his responses. So I knew that he wasn't trying to tailor anything to me. It was really truly what he thought about the subject. And so I thought after those 10 questions, and he answered them beautifully, and it was truly what his thoughts were, that I thought, okay, I'm all done here. Let's get married. And I said it. I asked him. I said, sounds great. Awesome. Let's get married.
I just didn't know what to think. And I just sort of laughingly joked and said, well, why don't we get to know one another first a little bit better, and then we can kind of decide. So that was my response. Yeah, so after our first date, we spent a really intense amount of time together over the following month. And a lot of it was related to my job, where I had a change in job. I was still going to be working with IBM, but the client that I was working with had merged with another company, and everybody was going to be moving to a different state. And also I knew that one of the options for me might be getting reassigned or relocated to another place within my work. It looked like that was going to happen, and it looked like I would have to leave New York and go to North Carolina for my next job at IBM. And so we talked about that a good bit. And you know, we also talked about not wanting to be in a long distance relationship. And now it was on me to say, all right, what do I think? And I just kind of paused on the phone for probably, I don't know, it might have been 30 seconds, and I said to her after that time, I said, okay, let's get married.